The reality of the Rolex 24, anyone in the world of motorsport knows about it, the ice on the cake.
To really put the machine and the human really to its limit, see who comes on top at the end.
Getting a Rolex is always nice at the end of the day.
You know, there are Formula 1 drivers and then there are racing drivers. I've always felt like, a racing driver. I'm very much looking forward to going into something that I feel is real racing.
Can you imagine driving for 24 hours straight? Doing that under normal circumstances is dangerous, let alone in a race car at 200 miles an hour. But that's exactly what Kevin Magnussen was describing as real racing. Following this statement, Kevin went on to race at the Rolex 24 at the Daytona International Speedway. In this episode, we're taking you behind the scenes during that weekend to find out exactly why endurance racing is so intense. He and his teammates, alongside 60 other teams, took on the grueling challenge of racing for a full 24 hours. While drivers rotate in and out of the car, and pit stops are essential for fuel and tires, the race itself never pauses. On top of that, racing for that long actually requires teams to be up for more like 36 hours. And if you've ever pulled an all-nighter, then you know exactly what that feels like. They face intense sleep deprivation, battling a level of fatigue that severely impairs brain function and reaction times. In the end, they race a distance that would take them coast to coast from New York to LA. And that, in a nutshell, is endurance racing, a mental and physical test of both the individual and the team. To take it one step further, let's quickly compare Kevin when he raced at the 2024 Formula One British Grand Prix. A single lap around Silverstone measured 3.7 miles. In just over an hour and 20 minutes, not even 3/4 of the new F1 movie's runtime, Kevin Magnussen's number 20 Haas completed the race having finished 52 laps, or nearly 190 miles. That wouldn't even get him from New York to Washington, D.C. He needed to complete the full British Grand Prix nearly 14 more times to go the same distance as the Rolex 24. When you compare the two races side by side like this, F1 seems a little bit easier, doesn't it? But the reality is none of this is easy. It's actually a lot more nuanced, and the average person couldn't do any of it. It's just that Kevin likes to think there's more of a challenge in endurance racing, and he's not alone. In fact, the Rolex 24 is actually part of an unofficial triple crown of endurance racing, alongside Le Mans in France and the 12 Hours of Sebring. But knowing that it's prestigious doesn't explain why drivers like Kevin find it more challenging, or why they're willing to subject themselves to these conditions.
But we got a spinner. Drama here at Daytona.
Why are they fighting through the night?
Pratt Miller LMP2, another car.
Why are they pushing their bodies and their machines to the limit?
It's the Porsche Penske.
For 6. They are still working on that car.
A lot of track position lost.
Oh, this is utter heartbreak. It seems to be unraveling dramatically.
From young drivers to veterans, we're going to take you through the weekend to find out why they love Daytona and ultimately why they volunteered to race for 24 hours.
Please welcome Pietro, Fittipaldi, James Roe, Chris Cumming, and Callum Isla.
You could race anywhere. Why do a 24-hour race? Why this?
Well, for me, when the opportunity came up to be a silver in the LMP2 car with Pratt Miller, was honestly a no-brainer just to go racing, 24-hour racing, endurance racing. I've never done a 24-hour race, so for me, it's kind of like the least you know, the better. Just get on with it and see what we got. Yeah, just go.
Okay, so then with that, what's your prep been like? Like, what do you need to do mentally? What do you need to do physically? Or are you also just like, hey, I'm here, let's go?
No, that's kind of my personality, is a lot of just like, let's just get on with it, show up and go. But unfortunately, I missed all the preseason testing because I broke my wrist last June in Detroit in the next car. So I really didn't have any prep to do because I couldn't drive. And I came to the test, hung out, and then just came to the Roar. And as I said, new team, new car, new people, and just got on with it. So it's been a steep learning curve, you know, to put it mildly, but as I said, now we're finally in a good spot and it's all good.
I love it. You don't even seem the least bit stressed about any of this.
No, I mean, I guess probably the beauty is just, again, good people around me. I mean, you just kind of just lean on them and yeah, it's all good.
How have you been working with the other drivers on the team to be able to get ready to go for all of this? Like, how do you get in sync, having never raced with them in a competition like this?
Honestly, as simple as it sounds, the WhatsApp group chat is what we had, and all firing our own questions in. The engineer's been answering, and then asking Pietro and Callum a lot of questions. They're probably like, this guy doesn't stop asking questions, but that's what. Oh, there he is. Yeah, I ask him a lot of questions. And,
How are his questions, Pietro? Are they good?
Super dirty question.
And I also really enjoy endurance racing because we have 4 teammates or 3 teammates for that race, 4 drivers in the lineup. And usually your teammate is your biggest competition because you're always getting compared to him. But in endurance race, it's like your friend, and just working with 3 other guys, trying to make the car better and trying to find the best strategy for the race. And that camaraderie that you have during the race weekends, it's something that I really enjoy about endurance racing.
Aspect I love about endurance racing is the team aspect, working with your teammates, and there's no single person in endurance racing. It's working with your group and getting the most out of your entire group, not just yourselves as drivers, but also your engineering staff and everyone jumping over the wall. You all got to be pushing together. So that's personally the thing I love most about endurance racing.
Clearly, you guys are very good friends. What's it like for both of you to be able to do this together again?
I mean, for me, it's really, really cool. Obviously, we were teammates for many, many years and back sharing a car in IMSA like we were in 2022, which was very successful at the end of the day. So hopefully we can replicate something like that. But yeah, I mean, being good mates on and off tracks always helps. We give each other a lot of shit at times, but we have good banter and we always have a lot of fun. So you need this. You need to have fun off track and relax, but also have someone that you're working with that you really trust, and vice versa. You need to be able to pull the other person back a little bit, and they need to push you sometimes. So I really love that balance. I feel like we have that, and I think that's why it's really good to be back together again finally.
In the end, we are really pushing each other on track with the car, and for sure trying to show we are the best, but we are really helping each other also. When one is struggling a bit in a weekend or another, I need to share information, there is just one open book, and many people see us as old couples, you have some days where you want to hit the guy, but it's okay, then we get along and we keep going.
Right. Can you explain what the prep is like and what it really takes to be ready on Saturday to race? Like, deprive yourselves of sleep heading into the week? Do you eat a certain way? Like, how do you change your behavior and your mindset to say, all right, I'm ready to go?
Personally, let's say I don't do much, anything particular to my, let's say, normal everyday life. I just go with the flow, try to listen to my body. On the food, obviously, you try to eat kind of healthy, even though the options are pretty limited around Daytona. But let's say you do your best to, obviously don't go on burgers and beers every day. Obviously a lot of water to try to stay hydrated. Prepare your body also, because you can become dehydrated with the race. So try to stock the days before, and then go from there.
Having never done a 24, maybe it's partly their advice, but what do you think is going to be the hardest part of this?
Tire management, fuel saving, and traffic management. They're the 3 things that, coming from sprint racing, flat out Indy next, you just go. And then, of course, night driving, never driven in the night. So when I went out for the first night session last week, I was like, I might have gone severely blind, or this is how it is, because that was a massive learning curve. But again, it's just about just ticking my boxes and keeping it simple, and that's the proof. I say to the engineer and the team manager, just let me know what I got to do for us doing this race, and that's all I need to worry about. Everything else about, I didn't have to worry about qualifying. That was Chris, or I'm more than likely not going to be in the car in the last 3-4 hours, so I don't have to worry about finishing it. Like, I got my thing to the race where I just got to check that box, and that's my job is done. Then it's the boys' job.
Are you going to be getting more of the night shift stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
People think, oh, it's 24 hours, but it's actually not, because there's days leading up to it.
Yeah.
So you're already tired leading up to the race. And then you're for sure awake before the race starts. So you're up for, I would say, 32 hours. Because before the race starts, you have to prep the car and everything. So if the race starts at 1 p.m., the mechanics are at the garage at 6 in the morning. So you're up for a very long time. And for the driver, when you have 4 drivers and you're rotating, usually when you get in the car, you're out of the car, you have around, let's say, 4 or 5 hours of rest. And that's your time that you need to try to get to sleep. But I've been part of a few 24-hour races, and because of the adrenaline, I've never been able to sleep.
Yeah.
Some guys actually, they're able to do it. I'm not able to. And the first 24-hour race I did, I was like super frustrated in the motorhome. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I need to get to sleep. You know what I mean? And I couldn't. And then I felt like I was wasting more energy just overthinking it. So then the other ones, I just kind of laid down, and I'm fine with not sleeping. And that ends up being better rest than overthinking it.
Do you think you're going to sleep? We've asked a lot of people. Maybe the question is, how much sleep do you think you'll get?
That's honestly $1 million question, because I don't sleep a whole lot anyhow as it is. It's just my nature. I sleep like 5 hours a night, maybe 4 hours. So when I started thinking about it, I was like, oh, maybe this is made for me. Maybe like this is where I'm going to get a little advantage, because I'll be feeling good. But yeah, I don't know. Some people say you don't sleep, others say you have to sleep. I guess I'm going to find out come Saturday. Ask me on Sunday, I'll tell you.
Okay.
I always just try and have a little nap. I never try and force it, you know. For example, if I'm on a pit stand, getting quite tired and falling asleep, you know, for sure you fall asleep for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. But if you get, let's say, 30 to 1 hour of sleep, for me, that's standard 24. It's usually not more. And some races, you know, depending on how much driving you're doing, maybe you get none. So every race is different, but between 30 minutes and 1 hour for me.
I'd say for me it's very different from race to race. Depends my state physically, how much running I know I'm gonna get. Some races you struggle more than others, so sometimes I prefer to have like physio treatments instead of sleep to kind of recover better with my body. And sometimes, I just feel good, so I just try to go and sleep. On the other hand, I know if we are running up front, I'm always so scared that something happens and that I miss it, that it's really hard to fall asleep, because you have always this excitement and tension, and you know, we are staying in these RVs, but next to the track, so it's loud, and like, you never know, and then suddenly you hear not so much noise, you're like, oh, mine must be yellow or safety car, okay, what's happening, is this our car that maybe I had an issue or anything? So I'm always a bit kind of stressed, so difficult to sleep, but if I can get 2 to 3 hours, usually that's what I'm targeting.
That's a lot. Hearing that 15 minutes, 3 hours is good.
Yeah, I'm let's say on everyday life, I'm more on the 10 to 11 hours sleep every day.
Jesus.
So it's like I'm a big sleeping guy. So for me, 2 to 3 hours, I tell you, I'm struggling.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm on a struggle. So.
When you're in the race, like, what is that moment where it really gets hard? When is that point, and what does that feel like?
I think in every 24 hours race, there is always this moment where, for the guys, for mechanics, for engineers, for drivers, I always feel like, you know, end of the night, early morning is the moment where it's kind of hitting you hard in terms of like everybody really starts to feel his body tired. And that's for everyone. And that's actually the moments where then the mistakes can happen. And this is where you need to stay even more focused to stay in the race and manage the effort, because it's still usually a long way to go. And this is really actually where it starts to get interesting. It's, you know, it's this last 4 or 5 hours, but this at the same time the moment where everybody is already kind of dying from being awake for the last 25. So it's always this balance of managing your energy and make sure you put everything on the line for these last tension moments. That's going to be key to bring a result. So your strategist needs to be sharp, the drivers needs to perform at their best at the very end, and the mechanics with the pit stops. And this is where I think also that the driver has a key role, is that, you know, coming out of the car, you know, and trying to push the guys, that the next guys goes in and try to bring the spirit up in this kind of moments in the very last few hours. I think it really helps moving the team forward, because it's just so hard. Everybody is just done for a full week of work, and that's actually the moment where everything is going to be decided. So you have to put it on the line at this specific time.
When you think about this and the end result being able to win this, what does that feel like to you? Like, what do you think that would be like?
I just think it would be one of the biggest races in the world added to your resume, and that's the reality of it. Rolex 24, anyone in the world of motorsport knows about it, no matter if it's NASCAR, you know, IndyCar, F1, dirt track racing, whatever, you name it. You mentioned Rolex 24 Hour, and yeah, you got them. I think from a career perspective, winning it, with this team. Also, Pratt Miller, one of the most winningest teams in US sports car, would be the ice on the cake.
Why do you guys do this? Like, why this of anything else you can fill your calendar with?
Why doing this? I mean, obviously the 24 hours one in endurance is always like, let's say, the pinnacle of the motorsport. Like, longer the races, harder it is physically, mentally for the car. Harder it gets, the more reward you have from having a good result and like performing and having a win. And this is what made it so historical, like here in Daytona or in Le Mans or Nürburgring and Spa, which are the 4 main big events that every driver and every manufacturer really wants to win. So yeah, it's part of the challenge to really put the machine and the human really to its limit and see who comes on top at the end.
For me, endurance racing is for sure the pinnacle. You know, it's the hardest test you can do. And you know, Daytona, it's such a prestigious race as well. And you know, not only for us as drivers, we wanted to be able to, you know, get a good result and try and win the race to be able to get the famous Rolex at the end of it. But also for the manufacturer, you know, you look back through the history, especially with Porsche and their history and success at this race. You know, it's definitely both a driver and a big team thing as well.
Unfortunately for Mathieu, history was not on their side this year. As many drivers mentioned, things can really come apart in the final hours. And while their number 6 Porsche Penske crossed the finish in a highly respectable 3rd place, it was their team's sister car that held it together and won the day. It was during the final hours of the race and the podium celebrations that followed that the why of endurance racing finally clicked for me. Drivers and teams raced on the edge for 21, 22, 23 hours. And at the end of the day, they were just hoping to get across the finish line in one piece. And in that time, they lived the full range of emotions, from frustration to fatigue to elation, and ultimately to the one that matters most, pride. Because even if you lose, and to be clear, 57 of the 61 teams do lose, there is one thing that no one can take away from you. And that's the badge of honor that you've competed in a 24-hour endurance race. And that's why drivers do this. They are pushing man and machine to the limit for 24 hours in a way that so few people on the planet ever do. I caught up with Pratt Miller's James Roe about a month later and asked him, what was your biggest learning from that weekend?
A, how fun sports car racing is. B, how crazy night driving is. You never know who's behind you or what's going on with lap traffic and different things. And then just what endurance racing is about. You know, there was times where I was in the car for up to 3 hours. You know, now I look at a 55-minute race, I'm like, that's nothing. You know, I did a 3-hour stint in Daytona in the middle of the night. I'll be fine.
Hi, thanks so much for watching. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our future Insider episodes. We have tons of exciting guests lined up. Let us know who you'd like us to chat with in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.